Hey everyone, my name is Eric Jones, better known as the Turf Teacher. Welcome to the course entitled Business Practices. This course I put together basically to help us and even help myself on remembering some of the business strategies and business practices that we need to implement. Because in today's entrepreneurial market or entrepreneurial spirit, it is very, very hard to actually be a business owner. We're not only having to deal with employee issues, human resource issues, safety issues, customer issues. We're having to manage every single thing. And as I teach horticulture and meet different students every single fall that are starting our 2-year associate's degree program, I am always excited to hear of an employee that wants to start their own business, but very few of them actually do. I think maybe only 4 or 5 have actually done it ever since I've been a professor of horticulture and landscape architecture. So, but anyway, we're going to talk about, those key elements right there, being that business owner. We're all experts in the trade. We're all expert horticulturalists, expert turf grass managers, expert landscape contractors, irrigation contractors, designers, design build contractors. We know our craft. It's the business side of the house that usually gets us in trouble. And those are the things that are put on the back burner. They're put on the top shelf when we get to the office in the evenings. We're in a rush to get home and spend time with our families. And so basically, hopefully this course will help you realize that there are people out there that can help you, and there's definitely technology out there that will help you. So let's go ahead and get started with business practices. And our introduction, the ability to grow plants does not guarantee a successful landscape management program. Now, that is 100% true. That is 100% true. You may be the best nurseryman or the best nurserywoman and can grow tremendous, beautiful looking plants that are sitting in your nursery or your retail center. But if you were to go and plant them, you've got to have that landscape management program to help them look the same. Growing plants and knowing the horticulture behind that is different than getting out there and actually running a maintenance crew or having that management program in place to take care of the plants that you've already done. And a person who cannot effectively supervise workers or accurately determine the amount of money needed for the maintenance budget will be an inefficient landscape manager. Now, I have students tell me this at the college all the time. Eric, I don't want to ever run my own business. I hate it. The thought of it just makes me sick to my stomach. They'd much rather be told exactly what to do. Say, here's your budget. We need you to grow these many plants in this amount of time, or we need you to cut this amount of yards, per day for the week, and they don't have to think. And I'm seeing that a lot more because when I first got into teaching horticulture and landscape architecture classes, I thought I would be training young men and women who wanted to start their own business. And very few of them have ever done it. I've been a professor for 12 years. And I think I can count on one hand, it's either 4 or 5 of my former students who have actually started their own business. And so it blew my mind because I thought these young men and women were gonna become my colleagues or actually become maybe competitors one day, but they're not. They're actually going to work for other companies. People don't want the headache. It takes a very special person who wants to run their own business, no matter what industry it's in. If it's a restaurant, if it's construction, landscaping, as we are, or even running a small accounting firm or anything, it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of preparation and a lot of dedication to actually be a successful business owner. And so, if you can't supervise workers, in today, I think that is the hardest thing that we're having to do. It is so hard to, find and recruit good employees, but then you have to walk on your tiptoes with them, because they're going to get their feelings hurt and they're going to leave you at the drop of a hat. So it is a social game that you're having to play with the younger people coming into this industry. And of course, the only way that you're going to know how long it's going to take to do some of these jobs is actually doing them yourself. Yes, there are plenty of charts and documentation out there, how long it should take you to cut X amount of square feet, how long it should take you to put out a yard of mulch. But being on the site, being on the jobs, actually doing the work yourself, what better knowledge can you have to bring that to the table when it means estimating these jobs? Failure to develop business management skills can severely limit a landscape professional's opportunities for career advancement. Now, that statement can work both ways. It can be a horticulture young professional who's going to work for somebody else, or it could be the business owner. Every single one of you who are in a supervisory positions or run your own business, you have to know management skills. You have to know the business management skills. If not, you're never going to grow your business, or you're never going to work your way up that corporate ladder for some of these larger firms out there. And many colleges offer continuing education programs designed to meet the educational needs of people who have full-time jobs. And yes, at our college, we offer all kinds of business certifications, certificates, diplomas, even associate's degrees, and they're offered at night or fully online, because the business side of the house, guys, that's what's going to actually make you money. Knowing when to pay the taxes, knowing how to do payroll, knowing how to hire and recruit people, knowing how to market your business, all of that comes into play. Yes, you know the technical side. You know how to calibrate fertility equipment. You know how to mow grass. You know how to lay hardscapes. You know how to do all of that. But the business side is something that we all tend to not have the best training in. We know how to do the work, we just don't know how to manage the work. And so hopefully this course, like I said, will help you do that. And I'm gonna show you some examples, or talk about examples of mistakes that I've made, that I'm still making today. And I need a refresher course on this. I need to develop my management skills. My biggest problem right now is there's not enough time in the day. I'm doing way too much. I'm trying to teach at the college. I'm trying to run a full service landscape management and design build company. I am running Turf Teacher Incorporated, teaching these continuing education classes. I am a part of Turf's Up Radio, one of the founding members of Turf's Up Radio, and we're growing by leaps and bounds. And, always on the air, always on social media. It's becoming overwhelming. And I need to kind of slow down a bit and organize everything that I'm doing. And there's ways to do it. And I have the tools and I have the software in place to do it. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing it. Now, human resource management is a tough thing right now, because it is an employee's market. The employee can go anywhere they want to and get hired. And what I'm seeing a lot, traveling around doing these seminars, is I'm seeing landscape contractors running basically two different times of workers, or two different timing of workers. And what I mean by that is, a lot of the younger people coming into the industry don't want to work a full 40. They don't want to work 5 days a week. Their time off is more important than actual pay, or let me say actual hours. They still want good money. And I actually had a student at the college who has a bachelor's degree, has a master's degree in education, was a school teacher for 2 years, decided to give that up, has over $100,000 in student loans to cover the cost of her undergraduate and master's degree program, and has decided to come back for more education, this time with an associate's degree in horticulture, wanting to do some type of green industry work, whether it's work in a greenhouse, whether it's work in a nursery, botanical garden, or whatever. I don't see this student particularly becoming a landscape contractor because that's, again, self-employment type work. And so she came to me one day and she's like, Eric, is there a green industry firm, company, whether it be a nursery, greenhouse? And she said, even a landscaper would be fine, that would hire her for 2.5 to 3 days a week and pay her enough money to pay all of her bills. Because she's like, I'm just not going to work 5 days a week. And I'm like, well, I said, I don't know of anyone right now, but I will definitely look for you. But I said, 99.9% of us work 6 days a week. We do. I do know some firms that are practicing 4 10-hour days and having very good luck with that. And also traveling around with these seminars, meeting a lot of you guys and gals face to face, I'm hearing that landscape contractors are running 2 different crews, different days of the week. So they'll have like group A employees work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then they're off the rest of the week. Then employees in the B side work Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So they have enough work to be done for 6 days a week, but they can't find an individual that's willing to work 6 days a week. They have the employees that are happy working either 3 10s or actually, 3 8s, whatever they've got it set up. And as long as they're getting paid good enough to manage their bills and pay their bills, they're happy and they'll show up those 3 days. Kind of a sad situation. And you might be sitting here thinking, what in the world has this world come to? But that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Today's youngsters or young people, their time off is way more important than the number of hours that they're working, and then possibly even the money. They're not wanting the big, $500,000 houses. They're not wanting the $75,000 Dodge diesel trucks. They're okay with driving a beat up car, living in a cheap apartment, or still living at home with their parents, but having those 4 days off to do exactly what they want. And so to me, that is a thing that the screen industry is going to have to probably resort to, because we're hearing it. It's being implemented. It's being successful, and not only is the green industry doing it, but other industries as well. So, but human resources will always be a challenging and difficult thing for the small business owner. But to be a successful manager, you're going to have to plan and coordinate, just like some of the contractors that have implemented the 3-day work week for multiple crews. It's working out for them, but that does take a lot more planning. And it also means that probably as the business owner, you're going to be the one working the 6 days a week because your crews don't want to work it. You're going to have to provide good leadership. And the people that you do hire and put in leadership positions are going to have to be good leaders, and they're going to have to treat people fairly. Now, I remember growing up, in the business, my parents would, let into me when I made a mistake in the business, whether it was, cutting a shrub back too much or, not blowing off a sidewalk or missing one in the back of the property. I would get my, chewed out. Today's employees, you can't even raise your voice at. Now, this even goes back to the military. I entered military service in 1991, enlisted, and then actually went to boot camp in 92, and then went to boot camp again later in life as I switched from the Navy to the Army. So I've been through 2 different branches, basic training, and I was back in the day going through these basic training programs that were the company commanders and the drill sergeants could still actually hit you. And so I was punched in the stomach. I was pushed around. I was cussed out. That's what basic training was all about. Today's basic training, drill sergeants and company, I can't remember what we called it. They were either company commanders or company, um, I don't know, but I think they were company commanders is what they called the drill sergeants in the Navy. But today's drill sergeants, even at Paris Island and even at Fort Benning, Georgia, our infantry basic training, there's no cursing. Drill sergeants can't raise their voice at the recruits because of all of the entitlement and all of the, I don't know what you call it. It was just, harsh life is no longer part of basic training, and which I think is ridiculous because the enemy's never going to treat people fairly or respect them. It's all about being broken down and being built back. But as business owners, we're going to have to kind of cater to the employees because it's an employees market. We're going to have to make them feel appreciated. We're going to have to give them respect, even though they're not going to respect us. Our guys came to us last week and demanded, higher wages because somebody had approached them in a restaurant and was going to offer them 50 cents more an hour, and they were ready to take it. And I had our crew leader come up to us and say, "Hey, all the guys, they want this per hour, and I want this per hour because this guy offered us 50 cents. And if you don't give it to us, Eric, we'll finish out the week, but we're going to go to work for him. But we want more from you than what this guy was offering." What else did I have to do? I had to give in and give them substantial raises because the work is there. The work is there. But this was almost like, "Hey, Eric, you need to shut up and listen to us because we're going to tell you how we're going to be treated." The whole thing is changed. The whole philosophy of it and the thing of being a leader is no longer being that demanding leader or standing up front. You're going to have to it's all about making sure everybody's happy and feeling appreciated and respected. And with constructive criticism, wash that out the window. Because every time I'm like, "Hey guys, good job on this, but I wanted it done like this. The homeowner wanted it done like this." They're they're getting mad. They're getting their feelings hurt, and they're like, "You can't talk to us like that." I'm not raising my voice at you guys. I'm telling you exactly what Mr. and Miss Smith wanted done here. They're the ultimate boss. They are the ones that we're working for. Yes, I happen to own the company, but when you really look at who the customer, who the boss is, it is our clients. And if we don't make them happy, I'm not going to have a company to give you the job. So it's just blows my mind how everything is going. Learn on the job. We see this happen at the school all the time because I am department chair of over all the trades, meaning I'm responsible for not only horticulture and the landscape architecture classes, I'm responsible for carpentry, plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. I also teach a few classes in the electrical contracting program. But we have all of these students come in wanting to learn a trade because trades is where the money's at. Everybody knows that. My horticulture student that won an award here at the school was offered a position for $30 an hour, coming out with a 2-year associate's degree. She didn't take that job. She actually took another job paying less, but had more benefits. Again, they're not worried about the money. They're more worried about the benefits and the time off. The reason she went with this one job is because they gave her 5 weeks up front of vacation. She's actually working at a botanical garden for a local university. And so that's just going to happen. That's going to happen. But learning on the job. We have employers come to the college to recruit our trades students. They don't care about the degrees. They don't care about them having the diploma or the associate's degree. They're hiring them for $20 to $25 an hour and teaching them on the job. They just want somebody who's interested in their work. So HVAC contractors, they're always, wanting to get in front of the students and offering them 25 an hour to come learn on the job because they need warm seats in the company locker room. They need bodies there. They need people there. With training benefits, requires less supervision. Job satisfaction increases if these employees can actually be trained on the job. I think it's great for if we're hiring somebody to um, to work for us, and if they need a pesticide license, we need to pay them to go and get that. I truly believe that. Yes, they may quit and go start their own business or whatever, but again, guys, what I'm seeing is people don't want to start their own business. They understand what the headaches are. They understand, oh crap, I'm gonna have to work 6 or 7 days a week if I run my own business. I can work 3 or 4 days a week working for somebody else and make a decent living out of it. But if you're able to pay them for their pesticide license, their arborist certification, their continuing education, if they have a landscape or irrigation contractor license, helping them out with that, they're gonna want to do more for you. And when they're satisfied with their job, they're going to want to make the customer happy. And that's all that's important. I don't care if they like me, dislike me, or whatever. I want them to treat the customers fairly. And all of this training can be informal or formal. With formal training is actually sending them to the pesticide school, through the your local ag agent. I know here in Forsyth County, they do it once or twice a quarter, where they offer the 2-day pesticide school, and then they offer the exam on the Friday afternoon. It starts usually on a Thursday and ends up on a Friday. And Friday after lunch, everybody's taking the exams. Or it can be informal. It could be stuff done in-house. And I've done that for companies as well, is actually help some of their guys get their pesticide license. I came in, I did a small pesticide school and actually hired an interpreter, and we did it for some of their Spanish employees as well. So all of that training does help recruit and retain some of your better employees. With hiring, you need to be a skillful interviewer. And I probably need to have a little more training in this myself, just because there's certain questions that you can't ask. There's certain things that you can't talk about. And you need to make the candidate feel, pretty comfortable with you. And so I don't necessarily like them coming out to the office the first go around. They can meet us on a job site for a quick interview, or I could actually meet them, at a Starbucks or something like that, just to get a feel for who they are. But you need to figure out what their potential strengths are. You need to listen to them and try to put together what are their limitations, because you can't even ask them if they have children. You can't ask them if they're married. Now, you get into conversation and these people, give you that information willingly. That's when you can start putting together, hey, the limitations. And people have, they have young children. They may not be able to come into work at 7 o'clock because they have to drop their kids off at 7:15. And I don't want that candidate to feel comfortable enough with me that they can tell me that, because we can work around that. Absolutely. If this is the right persons for us, hey, they can come in at 7:30. They can come in at 8 o'clock. Because I'm starting to believe heavily in this one personnel crew, 2 maximum. I don't want 3 or 4 people in the truck, because somebody's always going to be standing around, even on a maintenance job. You finish mowing and you're weed eating, and then you got the blowers cranked up, blowing off the sidewalks and the roadways. And then you got to do a little bit of spraying. You may have 2 sprayers on the truck. And if you've got a 4-person crew, when when the 2 get done blowing, they're going to be sitting in the truck waiting for the other guys to finish up the spraying. Your horticultural stuff like spraying and pruning needs to be done separately. Your mowing crew needs to mow, and get out of there and go mow the next one. I don't want to see, 2 $20,000 Walker mowers sitting on the trailer while somebody's backpack spraying weeds in the shrub bed. I have a totally separate crew for that. The mowing guys are going to mow, because when you have that money tied up in equipment, it's going to be mowing and making the payments on it and putting money in my pocket, not the 2 guys sitting in the truck waiting on the 2 crew leaders, or the 1 crew leader and his assistant do the backpack spraying because they have the pesticide license. But you can ask them any type of knowledge about the industry, whether it's going to be for your horticulture crew or your turf grass crew. And you'll get a feel if they have common sense by just talking to them. and meeting them in a place that's not in front of everybody else. So you bring them into the office the first time, it might be just a little bit nervous for them. So somewhere that they'd like to meet, a Dunkin' Donuts, a Krispy Kreme, or a coffee shop, Starbucks, or whatever, and just get a feel for them, and actually just talk with them. And then you can tell them about your business. And actually, because they're going to be interviewing you as well, they may not want to do the work that you're hiring them to do. All right, with safety, the physical well-being of all of our employees should be the highest priority. You need to see that they are wearing protective clothing. You need to provide them with the hearing protection, eye protection, any of the PPE that is necessary when applying pesticides. That falls on the back of the employer. And you have to make sure that they are using them and that they actually have them with them, because they're not going to wear them if they don't have them. And then you need to check up on them and make sure that they are wearing the stuff that you're providing them. You need to have the emergency telephone numbers for yourself and your crews. And then everybody, at least one person on the crew, needs to know CPR and first aid. I think that is something that should just be something that you make mandatory. Every single person that comes into your office, spend the full day of training to get to CPR and first aid. It doesn't cost that much money to have somebody come. I used to teach CPR, when I first got out of the Army, and I did that just because I wanted to maintain my medic license and stay a part of the medical industry. And so I taught CPR at the college, in the evenings and weekends whenever they needed me to. And then I actually had a side business where I was doing it for companies and just doing it for family and friends. It's a good thing to do. And with what we go through in pesticide mishaps, the heat, all the equipment that we're working around, people are going to get hurt, and we need to know how to help them until the higher echelon arrives. And then you need to make sure that people can operate the equipment safely. Training programs are a must, or at least the employee needs to, come to the shop and say, hey, I can run the skid steer. I can run the excavator. I've ran the Skag Turf Tiger. I know how to string up a weed eater. That's one of the best ways to know if somebody's done a lot of mowing. Hey, I've worked for a landscaper for 10 years and I mowed this and I mowed that. Take them out there, give them a weed eater and say, hey, string it up for me. That's part of the interview. We've had people that's been in the industry for 10 years that still can't string up a weed eater. We're catching them in lies. With comms, communications, you need to clearly communicate your desires and concerns. Same thing as your employees. What is it that you want them to do? That's your desire. What is your concern? You need to let them know, hey, this is going good. This ain't going so good. Failure to communicate will lead to misunderstandings and serious personnel problems. And you need to have regularly employee meetings, whether it's together or separate with your crew leaders. I need to do more of that. I need to meet with an employee of mine named Caleb every single day. Some days I can do it, others I can't, but I have got to make sure that I can do it every single day in the mornings, because he's still in training. Super great kid. I'll give him that. Dresses neat, maintains a good appearance, always wears the uniform, always yes, sir, no, sir. But he's getting a little overwhelmed, with his raise that we had to give him, last week. He's having to take on more responsibility. I'm like, yes, I will pay you more, but I'm going to give you the responsibility. He's having trouble with that. He's having a few issues with that. And so when the days that I do meet with him, there's no issues. Days that I don't, he's calling me 50 times a day. With work schedules, we work 6 days a week, seriously. But when you're doing these work schedules and people that are wanting days off, my issue is that they never ask for the days off. They just don't show up. And so when you have these work schedules and then people don't show up, that's when it becomes a problem. But you do have to have some type of schedule to work by. You need to prepare them in advance. It needs to be in written form, communicated verbally. Flexibility is important in today's society. We need to have a list of alternative activities. Let's just think about if we're having a rainy day. Most of my guys don't care that it rains. They're just going to take off anyway. It's unbelievable. And then heavy workload for employees is best. Bull, you know what, right now. They don't want the heavy workload. And they've expressed, our employees have expressed that to me. They're like, hey, you're putting in too many jobs on the schedule for the day. What are you talking about? I was like, I can go and cut these yards by myself and be home by 3 o'clock. You've got another person with you and you're taking till 5 or 6. The whole thing is they don't understand this whole thing of making money. They're thinking that we're just charging the client, per hour, per person. No, when you give a price to a customer to mow their yard and to prune their shrubs and to apply their fertility apps, it's all lump summed, and most of them are getting charged, by the month, or you're at least charging them as you do it. But if you give them a price and it's 125 to mow the property, and it takes the guys longer, you're not going to be able to say, well, they were there a little bit longer today. It's going to be 175 today. No, you've got to communicate that. And that's where this whole thing of having the daily meetings with your crew leaders is going to help them understand, if you're not making money, the business is going to shut down. Let's see, make sure I didn't skip there. Also, with record keeping, it is tedious, but it is an essential duty. You need to record everything that you do and how many times that you do it, and what are the specific needs of the manager. What are the federal and state regulations on record keeping? Well, one of the biggest things that's helped me as a business owner was to hire a payroll company, and all I have to do is submit hours. Make sure that the hours are right and correct, and that they're being billed, to the right job. But actually sitting down and doing the payroll, and the payroll company pays our taxes, keeps up with our, end of the year reports that we needed to give our employees. All of that's done for a very cheap price. I can't do it. What that eliminated was me wearing another hat. And so I was able to focus on other things. My parents fought that tooth and nail. They did not want to do that. And I'm like, well, here, y'all do it. Do the payroll for me then. I don't have the time. I will gladly pay the $60 a week to have it done for our employees. To me, it is well worth it. I can take, $60. It would take me forever to sit down and do that. And I am much more productive and beneficial to the company by doing something else that's generating income versus, the payroll. If I didn't do it, I'd have to probably hire somebody on staff to do it. With labor hours, you need to record the hours worked, compute the amount of wages, calculate their sick days, vacation time. Everybody's about that time off, 100%. And with the payroll company, they will track that. They will track how many days they were out. They will track their accumulation of sick time. They will, account for their accrual of vacation time. That's something I don't want to have to deal with. And I can log in and say, hey, Caleb has so many days of sick days. He has, 1 week of vacation time saved up. And then when he comes to me and says, hey, Eric, I'd like to take a vacation this summer, or, between such and such time, I know that he has the time and that he can take it. Time use records, time spent on each activity. This will tell whether or not your labor is efficient. It will identify any inefficiency problems that you have, and it'll allow you to justify corrective actions. And so you have to keep track of this. You have to keep track of the time on job sites. How long did it take them to lay 200 square feet of pavers around the pool? How long did it take them to spread a tractor and trailer load of mulch? Keeping this in a system somewhere is going to help you in the long run. And you need to review these records And whether or not you're doing a summary of it monthly or yearly, this will also help you in, giving the raises. And raises needs to be done one time of year. You don't need to do it every 6 months. You don't need to do it every month. You need to just sit down and say, hey guys, we're going to give raises every March. And here's what you need to do to get a raise. You shouldn't be out. You shouldn't how many times were you late? How many times did you call in and you didn't have any sick time? All of that will take into account whether or not they get a raise. Also, in record keeping, you need to keep a list of your inventory. How many supplies do you have? How many bales of pine straw do you have? How many bales of wheat straw, bags of fertilizer? How many bags of lime? How many ice melt? We all want to get rid of our ice melt every single winter, right? But a lot of us carry it over. If we know what's in our inventory and we have a list on it, maybe we won't order so much. We can go back and say, hey, 5 years ago, we used a tractor and trailer load of ice melt. The following year, we ordered a full load, but it took us 2 years to use that up. Well, maybe we should only order a third of a load because we haven't had any cold winters here, last year or the year before. With equipment, keep a list of all your equipment. You need to know exactly what it is that you have. That way you can prepare maintenance records for it. Hey, this piece of equipment needs the oil changed at so many hours. You got that list, the current hours, the current mileage, you know how long you've had it. You're able to take care of it a whole lot better if you have it in a record keeping system. You'll be able to use this inventory in future use, especially your supplies. Hey, I've got X amount of bags of this left. I can use it on the next job. It also will give you a value of your assets. How much money do you have tied up in this inventory? That's money in the bank because you're going to sell it to somebody else. And then again, your equipment inventory. What is in your fleet that you can use to make money with? Equipment maintenance, preventative maintenance. I heard so much about that in the military. We did a lot of preventative maintenance on the Humvees, on all of our equipment. That's all we spent time doing. It seemed like we spent more time doing maintenance work than we actually did using the stuff. But you have to do this on a regular basis. Maybe not to the extent as we did in the military, but you do need to change oil, sharpen blades. You need to change other fluids in your machines, and having a record of what you have and when the last time you done it was will help you schedule the future maintenance procedures done on each machine. It'll also improve the operating condition. It'll lengthen the lifespan of the machine, reduce any repair costs that you may incur, and you need to record all of it when it is performed. Maintenance schedule specifications. And seriously, it's almost worth it to have someone come in the evenings to do this preventative maintenance stuff, change oils, fill up with fuel, go ahead and string up weed eaters, go ahead and mix up Roundup in the backpack sprayers, whatever that we need to do, have this person come in. And if there's any light maintenance that needs to be done, sharpening of the blades, changing out filters or anything like that, this person can help you do that as long as you've got it on a calendar. Other types of records that we need to keep up with, dates of when pesticides are applied. We need to keep up with the product and the rates used. What was the target pest? And any fertilizer applications that you must do. Now, it is law here in North Carolina if it is a restricted use pesticide. General use, you may not have to worry about it. I mean, everybody's going to spray Roundup on clients' properties or the glyphosate products to, help prevent weeds and reduce the weeds. So, maybe not necessarily with that, but I like doing it because I can see how much I used on Mr. and Miss Smith's property last year, and I can know how much I need to purchase up front for the actual year. Can be kept in a journal or a diary or even a software program. And with our handy little gadgets like this, our phones, guys, we can take photographs and videos of any type of work that we're doing. We can keep up with, I love taking, and I love using Snapchat for this just because of the text over the pictures. I don't post it to my story, but I take a picture and then I can hit the letter A up top, which allows me to type on it. And I can say, hey, use 2.5 gallons of Roundup at Mrs. Smith's on, January 1st, such and such date. And then I can save it to my phone. I'll take a picture of the actual backpack sprayer and the chemical that I was actually using. All right. So when preparing a budget, you got to do a budget proposal and do it for the coming year that's coming up. What were your labor expenses last year? What were your supplies, materials, and equipment that you used last year? If all of this is recorded and wrote down, you're going to be able to know exactly how much you're going to spend the next year. How much money do you need? And then what were any miscellaneous expenses that you had? And they're going to show up. They're going to happen all the time. You may have a piece of equipment that's broke down. You may have to replace equipment. All of this needs to be tracked, and you need to fall back to your records to help you with your budget next year. And a lot of the software programs that we use in the green industry, LMN is one. They're all about the budget and setting a budget before you actually get started in the program. So preparing the budget, you need the data from the preceding year. You need what your actual expenses were. What was the effect of inflation? Everything is going up this year, correct? Everything. Inflation, inflation, inflation. Price changes. Are we going to change our prices? Well, if we want to stay in business, absolutely. We can't keep eating the cost of, fuel jumping up. We can't eat the price of materials that keep going up. Now, granted, if we were on a contract and we were to do this, you may have to have a clause in your contract so that you can raise your prices. And again, what is your materials and equipment inventory records? Again, you may realize, hey, I got half a tractor and trailer load of ice melt. We don't need to order any ice melt this year. We need to get rid of that. And who knows, we may have a warm, wet winter like we have here in North Carolina this coming year. But at least we know not to buy it. With successful budgets, clearly explain the necessity of the budget and what you have listed in it. Justify any major changes. What are the cost of the new activities and why do we have to have them? And do not over order. Nothing makes me more mad than seeing materials lay around, especially pesticides, because they cost so much. People are talking about, you can pre-buy and stuff like that. And that's great, especially if your supplier will hold it for you. But I don't want to have, a tractor and trailer load of fertilizer sitting in my shop. For one, shop space is valuable, expensive space. I don't want to hold it up with, my winter fertilizer that I'm going to use in late November, early December when I'm pre-ordering the previous December. I want to make sure that I can get those discounted prices, but I don't want to eat up floor space with that. Order what it is that you just need, and hopefully you can pre-purchase it and they'll hold it for you. And if you do have any leftovers or whatever, you can stockpile it and use it on the next job. With leasing becoming increasingly popular, this is protection against equipment obsolescence. Like it's, if it goes old, if the equipment becomes obsolete and it's not needed anymore, when the lease is over, you just turn it back in. There are tax benefits to it. And you might want to speak with your CPA or attorney on this, but, we've leased some trucks in the past. I don't know if I would personally lease a truck again. We put too many miles on them. I mean, we're burning up the roads with the work we got going on. So it may not be worth it for us then, but it's getting to the point where, you can lease the equipment that we use. I've even heard of leasing mowers, definitely excavators and skid steers. With the disadvantages, there are monthly lease payments, but there's mortgage payments and loan payments as well. But the restrictions that may be put on it, you may only be able to put so many hours per month or so many miles per month, or definitely miles and hours per year. So you don't want to buy something, you don't want to lease something that you're going to be using every single day, all day long, unless they know up front that that's what you're doing. And I had a good friend Her husband's family raised peanuts up in Virginia, and they leased a brand new combine from John Deere every single year. And they had 3 crews that worked on the machine. They had 3 8-hour crews. They ran this machine 24 hours a day during harvest. And so 8-hour crew would come in, then the next 8-hour crew, and then the next 8-hour crew. They run it 24/7, and they leased it. But the good thing for them leasing it, if the machine broke, John Deere had to have them another one there that day and switch it out if they couldn't get it fixed in the field quickly. Other business skills, estimating the job. Let me make sure. Yep, we were talking about leasing. My mouse is very, very sensitive. But other business skills, estimating a job. So we didn't have a class on that. We are having on seminar classes on estimating and presenting your proposal. We do that in the live face-to-face and our seminar jobs. That's why I'm thinking about it. But, you got to be able to estimate the job. You need to be able to submit the bid. You need to have that firm price with it. An accurate cost estimation is essential. You're not going to get any jobs out there if you're not right on target. And we're all licensed professionals here. We should be within a few dollars of each other on the same jobs, because we're all buying from Site One. We're all buying from the same nurseries and garden centers. Yes, some of us may get a little better discounted price based on the volume that we're purchasing, but guys, that's not going to be enough that we're thousands and thousands of dollars in difference on some of these landscape jobs. Time plus materials method. This is a way that we can estimate the jobs. It is an alternative estimation. Customer pays hourly charges. It is the retail rate charged for the materials, and then you can bill after the job is completed. It is a good method for inexperienced managers. Hey, I don't know how long it's going to take us to spread that mulch. It's 2 tractor and trailer loads. I don't know how long it's going to take us to lay 20,000 square feet of pavers. We're going to do it time and materials. We're time plus the materials. So we're buying the brick and then we're charging them our labor rate there. Not always satisfactory to the customers, but I do know a lot of home builders have switched to this. It's cost plus. They show receipts for everything, and the customer will pay a percentage over what they'll pay the retail rate, because here's the thing. The customer's going to pay retail no matter if it's coming from the builder or if they're going to pay it at the store. Because a builder who goes to one of the plumbing supply houses to buy the new Delta faucet that the homeowner wanted, he's going to pay $1,000 for it. He's going to turn around and probably charge $1,200-$1,300 to the homeowner. But if the homeowner went to the same plumbing supply house, they're not going to purchase it for $1,000. They're going to purchase it at that $1,200 or $1,300. They're going to pay retail, whereas the builder is buying it at wholesale and then charging it back to the customer. Like I said, they're not always happy with our software. We can schedule work activities. We can estimate time and cost. We can set up travel routes. We can even do automatic irrigation systems. Software is making our jobs so much easier as landscape professionals. The technology is there. And then with the internet, everything is online. Everything is up to date. It just really, I don't know, maybe simplifies it, but it definitely streamlines it if we use the technology in a correct manner. But I can still see my mom and dad, manually handwriting checks, calculating the tax, dad, writing down the estimate, and then mom sticking in that 3-carbon copy into the manual typewriter and typing it up. I mean, they had technology back then, but nothing like we have today. And so in summary, all turf grass managers, landscape managers, we're involved with personnel management, planning, work schedules, record keeping, budget preparation, and purchasing equipment and supplies. Many owners or managers are responsible for product markups, job cost estimation, and writing maintenance specifications. We all are. And these managers of landscape companies often have to estimate the cost of a job and then submit a bid to potential customers. And with computers and online resources, they have had a revolutionary effect on landscape management programs and continuing education. So with that, guys, I appreciate it, and I will see you in the next lecture.